Wow. Wow. How do you follow that? My dad's biggest fear in life, seriously, is public speaking. That's true. In fact, about 15 minutes ago, he was there, and I realized he was getting nervous, and I just looked at him and said, "You've got cancer, man." And he went, "Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it isn't that bad." Yeah, I guess the good thing about being 40 is when the picture's in the paper tomorrow and I have the stethoscope around my neck, it won't throw people too much. Well, let's see. I wanted to be here tonight, obviously, because this hospital has taken on a whole new meaning for us. And I guess when I was well, I mean, I left Boston really. I left college almost 20 years ago, and went out into the world and make my way in the world. And I've always worn Boston on my sleeve and not apologize for the fact that I'm from here. And we've all traveled. You go out in the world, and you have conversations with people. You make new friends, new acquaintances, and they ask you where you're from, and what's so great about that place. And I'd always say, well, the people and the sports teams. Actually, I'd probably start with the sports teams, and the people, and the colleges, and the hospitals. Oh yeah, what hospital? You ever hear of Mass General? And that would just stop the conversation. It kind of became my default position was, oh yeah, you ever hear of Mass General? And just because I was raised to understand that Mass General Hospital was the best hospital in the world. And I said it just reflexively and believed it because that's the way it was. The sky is blue. What goes up comes down. The Red Sox will break your heart. And Mass General is the best hospital in the world. And I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I always knew that I'd develop eventually a more personal relationship with the hospital. I mean, let's face it, if we're lucky enough to live long lives, eventually something's going to come knocking on the door, and the probability is it's going to be cancer. And cancer had already taken some very dear family friends of ours. We were aware of the disease. Some wonderful people with just that kind of joie de vivre, people who you go like, why that guy? But as we all know, the disease doesn't discriminate and has just this malign indifference to what your plans are. And so I think I knew somewhere that eventually I'd get to see what I've been bragging about all these years. I never would have guessed it would have been my dad. I don't think anybody who knows our family would have guessed that it would have been my dad. The college athlete and the marathoner, the guy who takes a sailboat and sails single-handedly overnight, in a race up the New England coast. But cancer seems to go after people like that. And so just over 18 months ago, we developed a more personal relationship with Mass General, and I have to say, it's been, it sucked. I mean, let's face it, there's that, but the care that my dad has received there is just awesome. And Nooper, just, we couldn't have asked for anybody. We really couldn't have asked for anybody to handle this with us. We couldn't have asked for more. It's just, you know, that whole stem cell experience, which was obviously a real ordeal. You know, Tom was amazing, and the nurses, I mean, my God, you know, watching that wedding video brought back a lot of memories of those nurses, and it's just, it's deeply humbling to be around people who have decided to do this with their lives, because there were times during that experience where I just kind of went, I love the way my dad is being cared for right now, and I'm glad he's getting special care, because he's a special guy. And then I realized that he wasn't getting special care. He was getting the exact care that everybody gets when they come here. And to realize these doctors and nurses, how genuine they are, and how much they love their patients, and how much they fight for their patients, to realize that it's that personal for them, for each of their patients, was really just deeply, deeply humbling, and it's just a quality that's just, I so admire. And you know, somebody said earlier, maybe it was Teresa, that you guys do God's work, and I have to say, I mean, I do beg to differ with Lloyd Blankfein. I think you people do God's work, and I'm so grateful personally that you do, and my family is so grateful to all of you for the care that you've given us, and at the end of the day, I mean, all over the world, scattered over the world right now, are young Bostonians and New Englanders who are wearing where they come from on their sleeve, and they're in conversations in cities all over the world, and they're bragging about Boston, and they're talking about Mass General Hospital, and I think for me, because of this experience I've had tonight, is about making sure that when their time comes to get to know Mass General in a more personal way, that they find, as we have, and that I have, that it's exactly the place I've been talking about all those years. Now, going back to the special people in Boston and what makes Boston great, I have two young people right now, and I'm going to introduce their video. It's pretty incredible. Elena and Jack Sargent. And these are young people who are honorees tonight, who are to be commended for their creativity and their generosity and their strength, and their love for each other, and their love for their dad. They're here tonight with their mom, Lisa, and this is their story.